This one's a mystery. 70,000 words, so that's definitely right at the low end there. A gray Le Mans barreled down the road fronting Robert Edge's house. Though the sun had nearly set, the humidity was stifling. Robert's heart pounded maniacally. He raced outside and clamped his palms to his ears to suppress the screams, which sounded like ringing. Robert bolted upright in the dark, took several frantic breaths, and slammed the ringing alarm off. Reaching for the table lamp, he rattled the Canadian Club bottle resting on the nightstand alongside of it. He grappled with both hands to keep the unopened whiskey upright. When it settled, Robert tugged the lamp's chain and stood. He slid back the motel room's curtains. The orange ball of morning light rising above the Miami Beach shoreline barely registered in his mind. Robert shuffled into the bathroom, peed, brushed his teeth, shaved, and slipped on his marlin blue trousers and white belt. He adjusted the collar on his aqua polo shirt, embroidered above the right pocket, which was edge of the ocean. Robert dabbed a splotch of Vaseline hair tonic on his left hand and massaged it into his other palm. He rubbed them through his black, wavy mane, thick and loose on top, short on the sides, and combed it back, revealing his widow's peak. Combined with Robert's thin face, deep-set mahogany eyes, and half ear-length sideburns, it gave him a look somewhere between sullen and soul-searching. He walked along the outside walkway, knocked on room 18 as he passed, and said, "Candace, wake up, 7 o'clock." Robert counted the cars lined up, head first, in front of their rooms. By coincidence, 18. He removed mail from a wall-mounted letterbox located next to the plate glass door. Okay, so again, so we talk about tone. So in a mystery, you want to set that tone of their normal life, and then it's going to go sideways. So try to avoid beginning on a couple things. I say always weather or dreams, because that is used a lot. Like that's been overdone. So bolting upright in the dark and taking frantic breaths, and also self-describing. So too much self-describing of the character's looks, just it takes you out of the story. I mean, normally you don't self-describe when you're looking in the mirror and give the rundown of everything you're doing. What is interesting is that you can tell that he works at a motel. I think the motel is an interesting setting for a mystery. He has a bottle of liquor, so that's indicating something about his personality. He's up and he's waking a coworker. So I would really condense that first page down to just those fine details. I mean, we've in that one page of writing, we've maybe got a couple facts about him. And I would just condense that down, and those few facts of where he works, he gets up, what he's doing. He was drinking last night. He's out of sorts. He's waking it up. He's counting the cars, and then what? And then why? And what is his life like? And then what's going to happen? And I would include all of that in the first page, instead. But like I said, also it feels a little bit, I don't know, the Vaseline in the hair and everything. I don't know if it's contemporary with that type of, and also I think the way he was dressing, if it's a little bit historical or not. So I wasn't sure on that. So I would just really focus on those positive things of, the alcohol, him getting up, noticing the cars, and condense that way down. That's my input.
Yeah, I really wanted to point out that this is very step-by-step writing, and I call it the play-by-play because it's like if you're watching a sports game and the commentator is like, he went left, he went right, he jumped up to the basket, and he scored whatever. I'm not a sports person. But so, like, it's telling us too much on step by step by step, and we lose focus on who the person is because you have a cool setting, The whole being at the hotel for a mystery, that's actually very interesting. I would love to see something start like that. We see that we get the bits of his personality, like Ellis said, with the whiskey bottle. The fact that he does things like counts cars in the parking lots and stuff like that, that's different. That's not something we see in a person a lot. So we get those, but because we're getting literally every single step he takes, we don't need to know that he like got up, brushed his teeth, put on his aqua blue polo, or like there was a lot of there was a lot of the like everyday occurrences we don't need. So if you condensed all of that, like Ella said, and it's literally just him, you know, the alarm freaking him out, and he almost shatters his whiskey bottle, gets dressed, goes in and knocks on the person's door. That'll be half a page. And you'll see how much more to keep us going. That'll be like, why do we want to keep moving? Why do we want to see what comes next? But your setting is great, so like work with that.
Right.
Yeah, so going off of what Caitlin and Ella-Marie said, it hit me very hard that I don't think there was a single like internal thought in that whole page. And like that's something that I like grab onto very hard is their internal thoughts and like being inside of their head. And you know, like Caitlin said, it was very much a play-by-play, and it kind of felt like instead of being in their skin and being in their head, we were kind of watching from afar. And that tends to be distancing for a reader rather than engaging them.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was very mundane. I do love the Miami setting and that it was hot and hot and humid there. I'm a huge Miami fan, so that did grab me. But I would like to know, why is this person there? Why is he in Miami in a hotel? If you don't live there and you're in a hotel, you're there for a specific reason. And why is he there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Caitlin?
It's on to Caitlin.
This one is a YA fantasy at 95,000 words, so it is right on the money there for me. And, okay. I had 23 sundowns left before I died. The fiery evening sky threatened to steal another as I raced Father's sailboat across the waves faster and faster. This wasn't supposed to happen. Diana and I were supposed to have found a better life after we'd left home 5 years ago, but all I had to show for it was a pathetic living earned through illegal trades on the dark market and a selfish, dead sister who failed to tell me about the curse she'd acquired. A curse that found my own soul after she'd taken her final breath. A curse I was running out of time to destroy. I tried to ignore the surge of panic through my veins as I tugged the boat's sails, reminding myself I could still survive this. I just needed to find the one enchantress who could help me, and I was almost there. The golden sands of Varun's coast loomed in the near distance, only another quarter-mile away. I pulled the sails harder, leaned, braced myself with each crash against the weathered hull, just like Father taught me to. Full concentration, Leah. Sail on a reach. You are your father's daughter. The boat jumped over a stronger wave. It rocked, tipped. I lost my balance, my grip on the ropes. I snatched them back and righted my stance, hating how much my raven locks reminded me of my sisters as I pushed them from my face. The pouch of ashes tied to my belt suddenly felt heavier as Father's boat surged forward, careening over the shoreline's shallow waves and finally skidding onto wet sand. Well, I really like this page. I especially really love the whole fact of like the ashes in the pouch at her hip at the end there. That was really good. My one note here is that like I like the voice. It's not completely fantasy yet for me, just because we're on a boat. It could be just like until we get to the enchantress, then I'm like, oh, fantasy, good. So I think we don't wait too long for that. My one thing was that the curse issue felt almost forced in. I can't tell whether or not it was a bad or a good thing. That shows that you did a good job with it. But I can't tell if I wanted to find out exactly about that just now, or if I wanted to find out through like how she's reacting and why she's going somewhere instead of having it told straight at me like my sister had a curse and when she died I got it and now I have to stop it. I wasn't sure if I wanted it now or later. But that was really one of my only things for that one. I like the voice. I like immediately knowing she can sail a boat all on her own, but it was for illegal things, and now she's going off to try to stop this curse, and she's about to die. Great first line, by the way. Great first line.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that Caitlin just said. I'm very conflicted like, on how I felt about some of those details because they were really interesting and definitely made me go, like that's really cool. But yeah, like Caitlin said, I'm not sure if it was too early or not. The other thing that I really like is that, in her thoughts about her sister, we very clearly get a sense of anger with her sister. And that's definitely something that I like. Not that I like anger at sisters, but just liking that we get a sense of that relationship from very few words.
Yeah, I love there were sister dynamics going on. I think you have to be careful of starting with too much action. So they say you should start in the action, but you can't do that at the expense of the character. So again, I always come back to the character. I like to know who I'm rooting for right out of the gate. Like, who is she and why is she out there on this boat? And I liked the hint of illegal action because I'd like to know who she is. And again, the self-description, the Raven locks, it's just a pet peeve of mine, but who says that about themselves? Like, my Raven locks. I don't think, people really realistically talk about themselves like that. So, you have to be careful. I know you're trying to get physical description of the character, but it's not that important. I mean, we really want to know who the person is and not necessarily their physical traits.
I agree. And just to kind of piggyback on that and what Kaylin said about the curse, this is coming from someone that likes thriller and suspense. So I believe she already said she only has so many days left to live, and I think that is enough because the curse kind of tells you why right away. Like, I would like to let that build of why. Why does she only have so many days left? So I really agree with that part. And then the anger at her sister and that juxtaposed with the ashes on her belt, her sister, and I like that pulling back and forth. So that's my comments. I liked it.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So this next one is a YA fantasy as well. I think like 90% of mine were YA fantasies. This one is sitting at 70,000 words, which again is like a little low. I'd like to see it closer to 80 at least. Perched high in a meta tree, Adia surveyed all forest life passing below. Stomach growling, she sat motionless. She hadn't eaten in 3 days. A young Bakura stepped out from behind a cluster of spine bushes. She licked her lips. Thank faith. Quietly, she slid down the rope she'd secured to her branch hours earlier. As soon as her boots met the ground, she crouched, checking that her prey hadn't spotted her. Chewing on a strip of bark, its body and ears remained relaxed. She let out a breath. Blood pulsed through her veins, thumping in her ears. Just follow the plan. She swallowed, biting her lip. Same as always. Crawling on her belly, Adia moved as close as she dared before rising to her feet behind a tree trunk. She unsheathed her dagger and drew a deep breath. Just remember your training. She stepped out from her cover. Muscles rippling, its body tensed. Its head swung in her direction, its wide eyes meeting hers. After a moment's hesitation, it pawed the ground, its mud-caked hooves leaving ridges in the dirt. Lowering its head, the Bakura aimed its horns, huffed, then charged. 1, she counted, forcing herself to take a calming breath. 2, 3. She dove toward the right flank in a forward tumble. So first thing, I do like that we're in like a moment of like movement and that we're not just like sitting there. I struggle with this just because so many fantasies do start with either like sparring or hunting. So I think I'd like to see maybe a more unique start for a YA fantasy. The other thing, I don't know if you guys could tell from my tone of voice, there was a lot of italicized thought in this. And while I think italicized thought can work like really well in some instances, it needs to be used strategically and sparingly. Otherwise it loses its like its oomph and its emphasis. But yeah, that's those are my first thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could tell there was a lot of italics, so it starts to lose its meaning. You want it to have a point to it and a purpose, and if you use it too much, especially in just one page, it's going to look overdone. I thought the sentence structure felt a bit repetitive. It felt a lot of like step by step and then internal thought and then step by step, a little bit of emotion, step by step, internal thought. So it felt a little bit not structured enough. I wanted you to kind of take away some of the step by step and give us more of the sensory detail. So like she drops down off of the tree. Does she have sap on her hands? What does the earth smell of when she hits it if a dust cloud comes up? Like, we need it to feel more 3D because Courtney is right. These start like this a lot. So if you're going to start in a jungle and hunting something, we need to know things like, can she smell the musk of the creature she's hunting? Like, we just needed more because right now it could, even though it's clearly fantasy, like it could be any forest right now too, or jungle or whatever. It's not quite that unique tilt we want. But I like that we already know from the creative naming that we've done. And that obviously this is a strong female, I believe, hunting and like on her own doing her independent thing.
And that's basically the notes I made. I would like to see the world a little bit more, although I do like the creatures the author created. I always like to see those new creatures, and the same thing, like she's hungry. So I really want to feel that hunger and that, she has to get this or else feeling when she's doing it.
Yeah, I did like that that the author didn't tell us she was hungry. I mean, her stomach growls, and we do see a lot of authors hungry, and this author didn't do that. She lets us know through the growling of her stomach that she is definitely hungry. But I kind of got the feeling she was prey. Is she hunter or prey in this?
Hunter.
Hunter? Okay. Yeah,
I thought both because I thought while she was hunting her prey, something came along.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I thought she was prey or she was a hunter.
I thought she was hunter. She was trying not to wake up or make the thing notice her, otherwise she'd turn into prey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I
hear that. Yeah, she's the hunter, not the prey in this. Uh-oh, we lost Courtney.
We lost Courtney.
Courtney, no! Come back, Courtney.
Can you hear us?
Was it something we
said? Here she goes. There she is.
I'm sorry.
We were so worried that the prey got
Okay, well, the last thing I wanted to say about this, I think it was either Caitlin or Ella Marie mentioned that, it's obvious that she's pretty independent and, she's hunting, she's doing her thing. But I do like that we get some strength, but we also get like a sense of like insecurity because she is. Yeah, we do get a little vulnerability, which I like having that juxtaposition next to each other.
I probably would have read on that one. It's really tough with first pages, but I was intrigued enough that what happened to her. Is it my turn again?
Okay, Sharon. Yes?
All right. So I believe this one is a sci-fi. I'm not sure the word count, but Orion clutched the bench in the changing room. His protective suit, a flattened, lifeless skin, waited for him. The yearly exam was complete. Odds were this was the last time he goes through this. Now the wait for the results. He smoothed back his brown hair and secured his helmet, gloves, and proceeded to the waiting room where Dad would be working. Orion pulled up Mom's vid as he walked. No answer. He left a message. Exam's over. Now the wait to see the numbers. I'll let you know. Hope your surprise meeting is good news. Dad put down his tablet as Orion plopped into the chair next to him. How was it? Same as always. They have a new testing bot named Shay. She's as dull as all the others. Orion leaned back in his chair and admired the environment. This interior must be another upgrade from the space colonies. Simulated a tropical beach. The repeated sound of surf crashing on the shore echoed inside his helmet. He could almost reach out and touch the palm fronds above him. Have you heard from Mom? No, I've tried for a few times. She'll get back to us when she has a moment. So, she got a message about a mysterious meeting early this morning. Did she have any idea what it was about? Okay, so I think the good in this is it's clear it's sci-fi. We've got the definitely the simulated world, his protective suit. I did have a bit of difficulty in this one kind of following buttons. Orion clutched the bench in the changing room. Was he sitting on the bench? It's a bit difficult to get the visual there. And then his protective suit of flattened, lifeless skin waited for him. Did it wait for him next to the bench? I was a bit confused by this one on actually what was happening in this scene. I guess he was in some sort of exam. But then we end it with his mom and her mysterious from the protagonist in his situation to his mom's situation. And I'd kind of like more about who is this guy again and what predicament is he in? Why is he getting this exam? Is it just a yearly regular exam? Is there something special about it? What is special about these yearly exams? We didn't get a lot about exactly what's happening here.
I agree with that, and that's where I went immediately, because he's in a really passive position. He's getting an exam right away. It doesn't allow for us to meet the character, know the world, or why he's there. So I still think a little bit of a lead in before he's at the table would really, help that out. I did like the mom, because he's there with his dad, but clearly his mother's not there with him when he's going through this exam. So he did set up a little bit of a relationship, to be developed there.
Yeah, I like the mom thing, but I kind of wanted it to be him telling his dad, like, I've called her a few times, like, and she hasn't picked up yet. And his dad then says, well, she'll get back to us, don't worry. So he's not worried, but the kids were, or
yeah,
well, however, whatever age this is. I liked that it was sci-fi. I like the tech going in, but yeah, there's ways you can word it where we can get a little more concrete sense of like his placement within the scene. Because like Sharon said, it's like he clenched the bench you can literally say in the changing room bench, or he leaned forward and clenched the edges of the changing room bench. It's just a little pet peeve for me is like when people say the bench in the changing room, and I'm like, changing room bench. And like, I'm just a little personal thing there. Maybe don't have him call the robot a doll. I break a little with that. I just know as a female, like I hearkened back to either Westworldy, where they just abuse and use, or old timey, old man who calls, every girl condescendingly doll face or something. So for me, I was like, unless that is your character, like he is literally embodies that kind of speech and action, maybe don't use it because you may be giving the wrong connotation for your character. But I like the whole familial thing. We start off with his he immediately starts thinking about his mom first thing out. He's not thinking about his test results or anything like that. He's immediately like, I want to know how mom's doing.
Yeah. And is this YA? Did you say YA?
Sorry,
okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's reading that way.
So I'm not sure if it's YA or not. It's clearly sci-fi, but I couldn't tell. I would assume it's YA because he's thinking about his mom.
Yeah, I would say YA. I didn't know if you said YA, but
yeah.
I think
I didn't say.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, Ella Marie. Yeah.
It's a fantasy. 77,000 words. It's a bit low. From the moment I was formed, I knew I loved her. There was something special about her, something special and tragic too, Estrella. The firmament, morning. The sweeping starry spectacle of the Milky Way is merely a backdrop for the masterpiece, Estrella observes. She glances over her shoulder and, assured she is indeed alone, turns her focus back to the tiny planet Earth. Something in the far reaches of her mind stirs like a star forming in a nebula as she watches the storm growing. It is a memory of a storm. Is it a memory of a storm or a distant dream? Lightning flashes as the clouds churn, forming a perfect circle at the center before it swallows the entire island. Her heart sinks. Will any of the humans survive? She closes her eyes, trying to shut out the pain, but there is nothing to be done. The anger rises inside her, raging like the tempest below. She needs to see him. Now, it never takes her long to find the hunter. He's always near the mountains or the sea. Tonight, he is sitting by a fire beneath the open skies, dark hair pulled behind his ears, the soft glow illuminating his strong jaw and dark eyes. He is safe. Slowly, the turmoil quiets within her. His presence, though hopelessly beyond her reach, brings her peace. A sharp hissing startles her away from the hunter's captivating visage. Warmth spreads across her cheeks as shimmering black and gold scales slither toward her. Had Serpens seen her as she stared down upon the forbidden planet? Estrella dares a slight smile, hoping her rosy cheeks do not betray her. He nods and responds, his ink-black tongue flicking in and out of his mouth as he glides by her. So the fantasy setting, I think it might need a touch more world building, although she is looking down over Earth. Her world feels a bit lost in the ether. And it's tricky to get that world building, but I'd like to kind of know where she is and a little bit more about the protagonist, what she's about. The names make me think of star myths. So I don't know if this is based on, star mythology, which could be interesting. The first quote that starts the story, from the moment I was formed, I knew I loved her, and this is the protagonist. So then I was a little bit confused if she's watching the hunter and he's a man. So then I don't know. So I'm not sure, why the two different things there, unless that plays out and she's, has a love for both, as the story goes on. I did like that she's worried a storm's approaching. The only thing is the storm is approaching, but then when you get to the hunter, he's sitting on a fire under open skies. So it doesn't seem like he's in too much danger. So, if he is in danger and she doesn't know if the Earth at all would survive, I think the person she's watching over maybe should be in danger. But then it's and I did like, the serpent, and she's hiding something maybe she's not supposed to be doing. And then it makes you wonder, what does she have to do? So is she going to let him die, or what is she about to do? So I did like that part. I thought that was good. And I think that's about it on that one. Any other comments?
I think there were a lot of abstract concepts here, which we needed solidified because we're getting lost otherwise. At first I was like, oh, maybe it's like, cool, she's in a spaceship looking down on Earth or something. And then we got more star mythy part, which would be cool. You're like, Ella's right. That actually sounds very interesting. But I got very confused where she's talking about a storm, and then she's like, is it real, or is it the memory of a storm? And then we're talking about a hunter, and I couldn't tell if the hunter was on Earth or like a counterpart to what her position is. And then a serpent, there were a lot of abstract qualities that I was like, I don't know how they fit together quite in where they are in relation to each other. Like, are some on Earth, or sorry, some up there? I don't know. I also didn't know why the opening had to be so kind of sexualized. It immediately starts off with her fantasizing about the hunter's looks, and then the serpent comes by that almost seems like a metaphor for something, because then like flicks his tongue out at her. Like, I just didn't see the necessity for that, because we get really distracted and we're already very confused. We don't need more elements that are making us question, well, why is this here and what does it have to do with the plot or the character? So I would solidify the things you need to understand who the character is, why we're watching her or she's watching things. Doesn't want to turn, because right now it's like this much, and we need it condensed into like focus. Made any sense?
Anybody else?
And no. Okay. Next one. This one is an adult historical. It's 92,000. Depending on the story, that might be a little high. I do know some historical runs longer, so no, I'm going to really tweak on that. All right. Her heart quickened at the pictures of the old farm and its pristine wild woods, hiding secrets and whispering, "Come here." "Angelo, I found the perfect farmhouse," Gwyneth said, scrolling through the Craigslist ad. "It's listed as an 11-acre historic farm, 9-stall barn with tack room, pond, and a gazebo in Port Hudson. Maybe Port Hudson was nice in 1893, but now it's mostly lower middle-class homes, prostitutes, and drug addicts. You know that. Except for the rich houses on the Gulf," Angelo said, keeping his gaze at the pan of scrambled eggs. She flipped through the pictures of the old home and people riding horses on the pine needle-lined trails. For 1 second, she was one of them, basking in the warmth of friendship, obliterating her shell of hardness. "The farmhouse is what we're looking for, and it's well under budget," she said, entranced by the farm's pictures promising to fill the holes in her soul. "Okay," he said, spellbound, "but only to look at it. I'm curious about its history." The farm dripped with magic. The old house had been restored, but the veil of secrecy remained. She could see through the thin, milky white curtain of death, those lingering there who loved the land when they had skin and blood. She knew a spirit needed help there, but the ability to talk to the dead branded her like a tattoo of shame. She breathed in Angelo's perfection and choked down all that he could not ever know about her. Page break. It was a little hard to find as the old farm sat back a distance off the road, hidden behind a storage facility of barely used boats and stored things that lost their usefulness. The home wept in air of being misplaced and abandoned. Time had gone on, leaving it stuck in an ether of an era long forgotten. Gwyneth looked past the atmosphere of isolation at the old barn bordered by the woods holding the promise of peace. "There it is," she said, sitting up as tall as the seat would allow her to see the property better. She took in every inch, beating down the gnawing in her mind that something unnatural was calling to her. They drove down the property's long dirt road, reaching large black Gothic iron gates with ornate horse carvings. It was even more captivating to her than the pictures showed. So first off, I don't think we need the pre-page break. I don't think we need the setup of like looking at the ad, telling them that she wants it, having him talk about how it's a shithole, basically. Pardon my French. I bristled again where he's just like, "Oh, it's all prostitutes and drug addicts," because now I'm like, I don't like Angelo. He sounds judgmental. I just thought it was much stronger, opening right up where they drive up to the farm and she's immediately just like in love with it. But there's also this mystical quality calling to her from it. I thought you could infuse some of the details in the first part with that second part, like where they drive up and she can feel this mystic calling, but because he can't know about it, she instead focuses on like the pine tree needle lanes that she could ride her horse down and like all these places that can fill, like it was a beautiful line about how it promised to fill the holes in her. I think it's a really cool, interesting concept because there's clearly some magic thrown into here. And the butting of heads issue where we're like, well, her husband or whoever this guy is doesn't know what she is or what she can do. That's interesting. So I think you have something. I just think you need to get rid of that first chunk and start at the house because it just feels like a mini prologue. I don't think we need that. I think that holds back what you can do with this scene.
It's historical? Because it
yes,
felt,
so I didn't.
Yeah,
you're right.
Pasco County contemporary to me.
Yeah, it says Craig, so I don't know how it's historical.
Okay, so it must be contemporary, but there was some intrigue there. I did like the farm and I liked the paranormal elements. something pulling her there to that farm I thought was intriguing, but I didn't feel any historical. And I would assume Port Hudson would be mentioning the Gulf as well. So I picture a farm in the Gulf Coast or in the Gulf area near me, actually, a little bit south of, or north of me.
And I agree that you don't need to be looking at an ad and making breakfast to start it, because we're not really getting to know her really at that point anyway. And I actually got a little bit confused because when she was sensing things through the milky white curtains, I was confused. Was she seeing that through the ad? And like Caitlin, I think Caitlin said, it's better for her just be experiencing that, in real life as she's there at the house, not before she gets there. And yeah, but I did like, it does seem like she has a secret, and I like that part.
Yeah, I was definitely intrigued by the farm and the secret and maybe something paranormal. I felt a haunting of Hill House.
Going off of what everybody else has said, that beginning needs to get cut. And I would love to see some of the enchantment and the enthrallment she has with this place through sensory details as she's actually standing like at the farm. I think it'd be a lot more powerful to have it that way than rather than like looking at this picture of an ad. Because then we can get sensory details like sound and smell and touch that we don't get through paper.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I definitely would probably ask for more on that one.
Yeah, like I think it would still be something worth going to the next page. But yeah, just move it up. You'll catch us earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my next one is a YA contemporary, and it's 80,000 words. So, prepared for anything, Clara took a deep breath and stepped onto the dark stage, her stage. This performance was the key to unlocking her future. As long as she sang, all her operatic dreams would definitely fall into place. She wielded her voice as a weapon, one to defy her challengers and sway hardened hearts. No one shattered Clara's resolve, not even the adjudicators beneath her. A sudden burst of illumination overhead nearly blinded her, making everything beyond the stage hazy. The faculty members who decided on her admission to the music program were a simple enough roadblock to overcome. Their scores might determine her fate, but she had no doubts about her music ability. Clara straightened up, holding back a smirk. She fully intended to blow them away, just like she had done during countless performances in her middle and high school years. People once called her a prodigy. Now, after surviving a death sentence, she was a miracle. Her hand unconsciously brushed against her right behind-the-ear speech processor, mostly hidden by her coarse hair. Some considered her acquired condition a curse. She didn't. Her hearing loss and cochlear implants were a sign of her survival, proof she conquered the worst circumstances. Reality faded as the accompanist played the introductory bars on the piano. Clara closed her eyes and absorbed the melody, drawing out emotion like her mother once did. Her lyric soprano voice sailed over each phrase of the aria as she savored every precise note. Clara's pulse raced after the intensity of her performance, and she gave a stiff bow before the red velvet curtains concealed her from view. She was certain her vocal skill had floored the small audience. After all, she grew up hearing music, feeling it, living it. Her history of meningitis stood no chance against her passion. Years of vocal training and auditory rehabilitation led her to this moment. Okay, so I have a couple of conflicting feelings about this first page. First of all, I love that we get that in the middle of the page that she's not a typical musician. She's not a typical singer. She does have a disability. And instead of like thinking of it as a disability, like she fully embraces it. And, she doesn't shy away from it at all, which I really love. I am struggling to connect with the character herself just because I get And I'm not sure if this is maybe part of like a character arc, and she's supposed to come off as a little haughty. But yeah, I kind of pompous isn't quite the right word, but I kind of get like a I'm better than everybody kind of vibe from her. If that's what you want, if that's what the author wants to like put across, then that's great. But if it's not, then I maybe like look at that a little bit more closely and kind of thread some other emotions besides absolute confidence and like in what she's doing. And I do like that we get to start with her being on stage. I kind of felt like we got shortchanged on the actual performance though, because she starts performing and then all of a sudden the performance is done and then there's nothing else after that. But yeah.
I agree with that, and like I really like this concept so much. So Courtney, you should share. But I'm not 100% sure if the writing is quite there yet, just because it does a lot of focusing on the fact that she's different, that she has to deal with this, that it's from meningitis. Like, I like learning she has the cochlear, and I almost wish we'd learned just because she's, prepping herself, she's getting ready to go on stage, and maybe she adjusts the volume or the balance for it or something like that, so that the music, or if they're using speakers and shit like that, the reverb, like in that, she's just making sure that it'll be her best performance and nothing's going to affect her. And then the meningitis thing, I think we can find out later. I felt like it was putting too much on it at that moment, where she's there to sing. She's there to prove she's more than what they're all looking at. Like, she has the talent. We need to focus on that part. We don't need to keep focusing on what makes her different, because she is her person. She is the singer right now. Like, that's who she's trying to be and who she is. So, and I'm a singer, so like I love the build up there. I do think it comes off a little haughty, but I kind of get it as a singer who did a lot of this. I wanted it to be a little more like what Courtney said with the nerves. Like, maybe she does the shake it off kind of thing. Like, she's pumping herself up and she's like, you know what? I've always blown people away. I know I'm a good singer. This is not going to change that. And take that haughtiness to maybe a little bit more positive. But again, if that's an arc, that's a good arc, so I'm for it. I'm rambling because I really liked it.
Go ahead. I agree.
My favorite of the night. It's such a different concept. I love the line, she yielded her voice as a weapon. But I'd like to see her come across a bit more vulnerable and maybe be in her, be that part of her character development. And I would like to understand why this particular performance was so important to her. What did this mean to her? Was this an inciting incident in her life?
Oh, I thought that it was an underpaid performance. Like, she was trying to get into a music program.
Yeah. I agree with everything.
I really love it. I thought this was great.
Yeah, I liked it too. I would definitely keep reading this one. I agree with Caitlin about that. I would like just a little snippet that she has that on, but again, I like suspense and stuff. I don't like things given away. I like to really realize it. I'd like to hear about the meningitis later after she's gotten the performance done, and then we could learn really what it took. As far as, the character development, I would want to read more because it was coming across to me a little bit like she is self-assured. She was a miracle, is what it said in the thing. So she has maybe a little bit of that. She is a miracle. She has a great voice, and maybe her character arc is really figuring out who she really is, and also how she said, like her mother. So she might be a little bit lost right now, and just, she has a talent, she's sure of herself, but maybe her character arc makes her realize more than just that. So I would want to read more before she needs to be more humble right out the.
Yeah, like maybe is she living in the shadow of her mother? Who was her mother, and does she have to prove?
Yeah, I want to know if that haughtiness is real or just for the performance. So I would need a few more pages to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
I did want to mention, great addition of the fact that she brings up how she had to go through, relearning things and do vocal therapy and all that kind of stuff. Because like my brother had to do the same thing after coma and car crash and stuff like that. So it was really awesome that you kind of did the homework or personal experience or whatever that was and infused it with her character. That was something really good because they don't often, like they always talk about the later, they don't really talk about how that got them to where they are as well.
Yeah, and I'm always like super intrigued by the opera singers on like The Voice, where you hear this amazing, powerful sound coming out of these teens. So yeah, Courtney, if you don't want that one, you can send it on.
I call first.
Or Caitlin wants it too. I'll draw. We'll draw straws.
I will fight you.
Well, I think those were a lot of good first pages. I think I don't know. We should maybe end on a really strong one. What do we say?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour and 18, so we definitely went past the hour.
Yeah.
I think it was great. I think we should do it again.
For sure.
Definitely.
And I hope it was helpful.
Hopefully we helped. Hopefully we helped some authors out there stuck at home, not able to go to conferences or workshops, as we are as well. I know we've had several workshops and conferences canceled ourselves, so gives us a little bit of taste of that, feel for being at these conferences, and first pages are always a popular thing. So hopefully this helps.
Yeah.
And everyone that heard their first page is going to get a reply as a normal query as well. So you'll get some more feedback.
Yeah, and everybody who sent us stuff, you're still going to get answers like, if you queried us normally and stuff like that. So we're going to go through those and make sure we give you answers as well.
Absolutely.
And if there's anything else you guys would like to see, just let us know. And maybe we can tackle some other issues for you.
Yeah, if you guys have for future videos or Q&A, stuff like that, go ahead and put it down in the comments. We will take a look and we'll plan our next event.
Sounds great.
All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And we're going to let Caitlin figure out how to post this tomorrow. Bye.